identify all the elements in the Prime Minister's presentation and say, we are in support of these things because they are consistent with vision, and we want to assist, we want to be part of this. What's it called?
EPOC.
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
No,
POC.
no. The whole Aspire.
Aspire.
And you'll, in a sense, almost take on board, and you can even jump ahead and say, we are the first group out of the box supporting this.
Aspire.
But it is
Within the
in
context
alignment
of
of Vision 2030. And that I think will
Dr. Struthers,
will help.
this is where I don't understand. When the thing was done, and it was done by that very learned group of 31 entities headed by different persons, what it was just put out there, and what the government or the ministries were going to follow it? Who was going to monitor it, so to speak? Because that would be now on whose behalf. I hear you about it for all of us, but I think people don't really find that hard. They need to know who are the people that are going to now respond to the Prime Minister and say, okay, yes, we on behalf of Vision 20, you know?
There is the government has aligned Vision 2030 with the Millennium Development Goals. So in a sense, there's a carry forward beyond 2030. There's an Agenda 2030, which is a UN
SDGs. Sustainable
Development
Goals.
plus the development goals and Vision 2030. And now the Prime Minister's pivot, which is not inconsistent with what in fact was written in the industrial policy.
Yeah.
If the truth be told, Jamaica, we take a very long time to get things done, but we usually get them done, unfortunately, too long, maybe long after. But almost everything that's been done now in terms of economic stability, even the notion of the central bank independence was written in National Industrial Policy.
Yeah.
It took 25 years to get it done. Some people don't even remember the Daisy Coke Commission. That's when this thing first emerged. We got it done. So everything that the Prime Minister has written, everything that we have talked about here, have some antecedents, and it's going to go beyond 2030. And I think there is an opportunity for us to fashion something that the private sector, yourself, the private sector, Pat Weir, your international private sector, local, that can help to take this thing forward. I'm not as pessimistic. I'm really not pessimistic. I really do see opportunities. I genuinely see progress being made in Jamaica. I was in Jamaica when I went to school when 83% of the kids going into primary school did not have any shoes. Only 18% of the roads in Jamaica were paved. It took you 18 months to 2 years before you get your driver's license.
Which I think is so important. How is it going to be explained, for want of a better word, to the public? Would it be appropriate, Dr. Hughes, for you to, say some of the things you've just said? That didn't achieve some things because we had these extra hardships, FinSAC and other problems. Secondly, yes, what is being said in Aspire, but just to, because it just looks, I'm just kind of, I don't know what made you write your article on Vision 2030, but for me, that I don't remember seeing anything before that's what sparked to me, and all of a sudden now you see various other things on Vision 2030, and Now, what led the Prime Minister to come with this Aspire, you know? I mean, I thought we were prosperity, now we're Aspire. I mean, I don't know, what are we? I thought, yeah,
From a political point of view, I would say it's a hard sell to say that, to imply or even hint or even give the impression that everything that happened before, we're not business about that. And he did acknowledge things, and he did acknowledge the build-up. But the mechanisms that, for example, exist in public sector to report on Vision 2030, they're not going to stop. They now need to be aspired.
This is what I wanted to ask.
For example.
What's going to happen to all the things that the ministry are benchmarking themselves against?
But
are they, and has he put it all in writing, or is this just a preliminary concept?
And we on the outside need to be engaged.
Yeah.
We just don't know how to be engaged based on the one, and the opposition needs to be engaged. Everybody needs to be engaged. This needs to be a mini version of Vision 2030, but that took the night. You can't escape going through similar steps if you're serious. It requires you to do it. So,
I mean, the PSOJ, I sit on their economic committee, and 3 months ago we decided that come January we were going to have our big movement was going to be going for growth, right? And we have been actually planning an event for January where we will be talking about, and we're doing some analysis inside of the PSOJ to look at, you know, what are the things that we should be looking at for this growth, you know, to be pushing the private sector towards growth. And certainly we were all asked to come up with ideas to give to the Prime Minister for his speech the other day, right? So not only the PSOJ, everybody round was invited to a special meeting in order to canvass the private sector to find out, you know, what would be acceptable. So there was this kind of activity that went on before the Aspire thing came up. So clearly the PSOJ is moving in a direction of going for growth, from stability to growth. And it would be quite easy to say to them, why don't we do that within the context of Vision 2030? But there also needs, I think, from the PIOJ itself to actually do that analysis. I know they're inside of OPM, there's a group that follows this tracking, and they're in there every month or every quarter. And they actually produce a report. So, you know, they know what everybody in government is doing. So there could be a level of analysis which is done, which is saying, you know, this is the pathway, and this guy is 1/3 of the way, this is only 1/10, this is
2030, you mean, Pat? 2030?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, it's now in the Cabinet Office.
Yes,
they
it's
moved
in the Cabinet
They moved it
Office.
from OPM to Cabinet Office.
Right, so it's in the Cabinet Office, right?
Just
I'll just give you one more oversight concept, right? So you know,
Here we go.
This reverend was being interviewed. He developed a whole thing. I think it was in Chicago, had after school, healthcare, basic school. So the guy who did the book Good to Great is asking him, where do you get the money from? And he says, oh, we don't use that word around here. And he says, well, what do you say? We say, and the pastor goes, we say resources. And I think partly in Jamaica, that's the problem, is that we're out of sync with the language. So, you know, if a man has a growth, right, that's really the big C, right? That's what people think about first. I think when you hear growth, there's economic growth, which we need to put the word economic before the word growth, you know, so we know what kind of growth we're talking about. Secondly, though, because this is, but more than growth, we need development. Dr. Clark ran down our debt. It's like you have a house, you're paying down your mortgage, You pay them up, but you don't fix the roof. You don't fix the electrics. You've left the place in shambles. The only other country with as low a debt GDP ratio is Germany. All the other countries are big industrial countries are 100%. He could have run it down from 120 down to 100 or 80 or 90, but the country's in shambles. The cities, the towns, the grill it's a dump. We are in a dump, and as a result, our overall destination is suffering. We're suffering more than other islands. Yes, the Caribbean had a bad summer, but we are suffering more. The rate that we can get, the luxury people are not coming to Jamaica, right? And the all-inclusives are going more and more mass market. And part of the problem is you're more likely to meet in a car accident between Mobay Airport and Negril or Ochi than you are to suffer any type of criminal violent act, So I would suggest if we can focus on development. That's where Dr. Clark, brilliant man as he is, he got a lovely job out of bringing our debt down, but the country has been left in shambles. Our balance of trade, you talk about balance of trade, of 60, Dr. Davis was talking about that. I think in Mr. Manley's era in the late 70s, mid 70s, I thought we had a balance.
1 year, but it was extraordinary. We brought our imports down to such a low level.
Yeah, because
You couldn't find anything in the super.
I used to bring cornflakes back from college, but yes,
That was you.
But that was a very good example of what we can achieve in that country. But no, the last 2 years, by keeping our exchange rate undervalued, our balance of trade deficit has gone from 4 billion to 6 billion in the last 2 years. And that's a fundamental indicator of the strength of the economy. So, pardon me for going on like this, but Dr. Hughes, I think something needs to be done, like a it's not a post-mortem as you say, and I agree with that, but we need to give an account of where is vision,
An evaluation,
and say, well, what, as you said, overlap it with the aspirational things. So we can't just have people coming up with,
But also, how is Aspire different from 5 and 4? Because we must have learned something from that as well. So what did we learn from that we'll now carry into this effort? So we don't have details to be able to say, but a normal person would ask, what happened to these other efforts, and why should I commit to this one? Why should I give of myself, my discretionary time, income? Why should I not join the line to migrate? Why should I stay in Jamaica when we have these other instances which are very fresh that are not accounted for or dealt with or put to bed in some way or analyzed or understood?
Well, my take on it as a John Public, which has been my profession over how many years, is that he's lost it with aspiration, okay? Because the talk of Vision 2030 was out there, and now he comes with this, and people are like, what is this? And now we are come election time, and you're bringing this, and what is this, and all that. I think if we want to help the country, and in a non-political way, we need to do this, this.
My own view, quite frankly, based on history, maybe not this time. You're in the middle of an election campaign. Whether you want to believe it or not, you're in the middle of an election campaign.
This will be off the record, by the way,
Yeah.
folks. I won't publish this part of our
this-
conversation. But
Aspire, whatever it is part of the manifesto.
That's what I thought.
And therefore, to bring people together for a consensus will require us having that big moment,
and then,
and then
But that doesn't mean that we can't do something
some of
in
the
the
work.
meantime.
you can do something.
We can do some things, and we can even agree to, if it's even about human capital, which is
Even as one,
non-controversial, right?
Yeah,
Non-controversial thing, human capital.
and the training.
And et cetera. There are some things that we can all buy into and start working towards. No. And then when that time comes, we have an election. everybody moves forward. But I wouldn't
Just
be
put it to
sitting
bed.
sitting on my hands.
Well, you know the politics
Right.
already. You saw the Observer headline, "Oh, without a vision, people will perish." And so aspiration is a wonderful vision going forward and all that. But I still have no clue. But people, in today's world, people just look at the headlines if they look at anything
No,
at all.
I went to the ladies' room a while ago
Yeah.
and I was thinking about what you said about growth. And then when I
Oh,
think
no.
about inclusive growth, that means that I have growth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we all have one.
No, the end is near. The end is near. You're riddled. You're riddled with it now. Yes. No, you have to talk. You have to talk in a way that, I mean, we operate on a whole set of different values. The character counts, one of the programs that are in schools in America. It has different words, 6 basic things. One is called citizenship. You say that into a Jamaican, what is he thinking? U.S. citizenship. He is on the bow of a ship going into New York Harbor, and there he sees the Statue of Liberty.
No,
Okay?
she's migrating lately. Did
Eh?
you hear that one?
Which-
Statue migrating.
Great, man. It's gone back to
I'm
France.
going immigrating.
Oh my, okay.
She going back to
Well,
France.
even words that even if you talk about trustworthiness, people say, "Why trust medical money not our worthiness? What I'm true, you think you're a big man and I'm a small man and you're better than me because we have this, quick to infuse. That's why we call people general. This why to sweep them up to get the money from them. So we have to come up with a whole new set of respect. Respect has just come to mean hello. If you really respect somebody, you say enough respect, Miss P, and so we have to really talk to the culture that is out there right now. And I find that some of us who might sit around, and I've learned this by experience, because I'm not, as I said, not because I know anything more than you. I just made these mistakes earlier, and I've seen it through efforts in trying to communicate messages to our public. And so once you use a word that makes them stop and think, they pick it up right away. But when you using other words, it's just they automatically tune out of certain words.
Yeah.
That's true.
I remember a Canadian friend of mine when I was at Chapel, and we were in Canada with the Prime Minister. And she said to me, Prime Minister, the way that you're speaking to the Canadian public, not even the Canadian public understood what he was talking about, because he was talking way above our
But that's
heads.
the point.
Right? He was talking from his intellectual point of view. And John Public in Canada says, so what does he do at home? Right? So you are absolutely right. If you want to communicate, you have to communicate with people in the language that they speak and in the manner that they have, and want us to do that, if you want to galvanize people and make them move. So
But I
Dr.
take Dr.
Hughes,
Hughes'
I can't
point.
speak
his point
very
about
well,
that.
You
but-
don't want to do anything now because of the political thing, but that doesn't mean we can't ask questions.
Yes.
No, but what I would suggest is to take 3 or 4 points that we have a consensus around. To be found in Vision 2030, to be found in the Prime Minister's Aspire,
Mm-hmm.
and to be found in the
3 or 4.
Julian presentation, and the national consensus. So they call it it's not social contract anymore, partnership,
Yeah.
national partnership.
Yeah.
Find 3 things,
Mm-hmm.
link them to all this,
Mm-hmm.
and let us work on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a big agreement with that. Because if you ask me what were the 3 main points of Vision 2030, I can't really tell you. I mean, the 2. So if we can use that approach, I think that's a good place.
That's a great
Three
place.
end on.
That's a good note to draw a consensus. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for the spirited debate. Jamaica's future depends on conversations like these. So maybe this will spawn many others of a similar nature. Because we need to have them at all levels,
Yes.
all organizations. Let's all pull together. So we can do.
I have to say thank you.
Thank you,
You
sir.
know,
Thank you.
Francis, for what you've done and the effort you've put into all of this for the background. It has been very helpful, and what you know, what Dr. Hughes has just said, and you have, I think that is vital. You know, vital to the whole conversation. But I think that they say the pen is mightier than the sword, and I believe we can just phrase the things that we need to phrase with great care and just with certain precision, and just use a word. Just using the right word is going to like start to catch the blaze. We talk about spark, and people wanted well for Minister Clark has left, so now we're going to blow $45 billion spreading around pre-election to try and win the election. Is that the best use of $45 billion? You know, I don't know.
Incidentally, I have a nice program along that line, and it was before any such conversation as to how we can really get some positivity. That was before any Aspire, anything like that, to really get to change that narrative.
Yeah. No, right now there's so much cynicism out there. There's so much wisecracking. That's why if you say something and you don't use the right word,
You get rejected.
dog, wisecracker, nyam your supper. You're just going to eat you all up.
On social media.
Yeah.
It is required at this time.
Stakes are high. Folks, thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everybody. Winterburn, I didn't hear from you.
Oh, well, I was working. Oh, well. I don't think to be mindful inside.
Oh, Maureen, thank you so much for joining us. It's all been captured. Fortunately. Take all the best and thanks